Good afternoon, everybody. As you can see, we're having an interesting feed this afternoon. What's going on with our birds? You might wonder why I grabbed a couple of them and took them behind the scenes. They need a little bit of assistance with their diet right now. Now, these birds love to eat. They eat about 4 to 5 herring a day or about 10 to 15 capelin a day. But right now is kind of a rough time for them. They're going through a yearly molt. So if you take a look at Shim here, he's the bird that I took behind the scenes for a minute. He's still in that full molt and his appetite isn't so great. But every other day they get an anti-malaria preventative. It's a malaria that's just for birds. So there have been a lot of mosquitoes around. So as a precautionary measure, we give them Daraprim every other day. But when they don't want to eat, it can get a little bit tricky. And it's only this time of the year that they act like this. So I just made sure he got his medicine, and if he wants to eat any fish later on today, he can. He probably won't. That's why I gave him just the medicine to make sure he got that. But the best way, Shim isn't the most tame bird out there, so the best way to get them, now he's telling his wife whatever about his experience behind the scenes. But the easiest way to get those guys is kind of quick. So if you saw me grab the bird and it looked a little weird, that was for his safety and also mine. He's not so happy about going behind the scenes. But it is something that we need to do just to make sure these guys get the best of care. So Shim and Whatever are our oldest pair. These guys do mate for life. So Whatever is 16 years old and Shim is 14. And what you just saw them do was something called a mutual bray. When they get a chance to see each other, even if it's only been 5 minutes, they tend to kind of bow their heads at each other and vocalize. So you might hear these guys vocalize as we're feeding them. So it's kind of tricky to feed them right now because they don't really want to eat, but some of our birds do. So everyone has gotten what they need for today, but their diet does decrease. And it's one of my favorite things to watch when they do that mutual bray. So before their molt, they get really, really hungry and they bulk up ahead of time. And then they spend about 5 weeks on land without eating, so they're fasting. In nature, they're on their own, but here at the aquarium, we try to make sure these guys are staying as healthy as possible. And sometimes when they don't eat, they have to get a kind of a fluid therapy just to keep them happy and healthy. And usually we get when they molt, they go from youngest to oldest. But this year's been a little bit different. So our oldest bird, Whatever, actually already went through that molt, and now her mate Shim is going through that as well. You can see the bird in front of Shim, the guy with the lion's mane haircut going on. That's Kate. Kate is also finishing her molt. So what we notice with these guys is they bulk up ahead of time, so they eat a whole bunch of food, and then they just stop. So again, in nature, that's fine because they're basically going to stay on land for 5 weeks, replace all of those feathers, and then go out on a yearly migration. So if you visited us before, or even a month ago, about 5 of our birds were going through a molt. But all of the birds that you see up here with me, except him, this is Fisher, he's pre-molt. So that basically means that his feathers are really, really swollen and he's really, really hungry. And there's another bird, Jade, that still has to go through her molt too, and I think after that we'll be done with molt. You're looking at Magellanic penguins. We have 23 of them here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. We've had 13 of them hatch here. They breed once a year. They're native to Chile and Argentina and the Falkland Islands. That's more of a temperate climate, so they're not actually ever going to encounter ice or snow. So our climate's pretty good for them. Unfortunately, they molt in the summer, so we have to give them some misters sometimes when it's hot. But today, when they got a nice little rain, that'll kind of help hydrate them as well. So some of our birds go through molt really easily, and some of them need a little bit of assistance. But penguins go through a catastrophic molt because their feathers are what keep them dry in the water. They have overlapping features on their feathers called humuli, and they basically preen or take care of their feathers, which some of our birds are doing right now, and that keeps those feathers in a nice watertight seal. Shim, if you look at him, he's kind of keeping his tail above water. All those are new feathers, and his skin's actually getting a little bit damp right now, but he hasn't eaten in a few days. That's why I had to take him behind the scenes, so now he's rehydrating himself. So it's a really hard time for these birds, but believe it or not, they go through it naturally. It is a pretty stressful time for their bodies, but here at the aquarium, sometimes we give them a little extra shower with the hose, and that kind of helps hydrate them. Shim usually goes through molt pretty well, but I noticed earlier that he didn't want to take his fish, so I didn't want to take a chance in not giving him his anti-malarial preventative. And that's just a preventative. It's something that we give them every other day. Every day they get a vitamin. They do get restaurant quality sustainable food. So this is a herring. This is a larger fish. This tends to be a favorite for our penguins. And then this is capelin, a smaller fish. So they'll eat about 10 to 15 of these and about 5 to 7 of these. But that little bird, whatever that you saw braying with her mate Shim, she ate about 50 of these right before her molt, and then she just stopped eating. And that's not a normal thing for them, but it can make their healthcare kind of tricky, because imagine them eating a whole bunch of food and then not eating for 2 days. That's kind of weird if they weren't going through a molt. So we're in really close contact with our vet department at this time, because sometimes they just need a little bit of extra TLC. But now you kind of know a little bit more about catastrophic molt. I'll probably feed these guys again at 3:30. This tends to not be the biggest feed for the birds, but in all honesty, I only fed 5 out of the 23 birds at this feed. So they weren't that hungry. About a month ago, they definitely were. So Magellanic penguins go through pretty strict cycles. Right now, they're in that yearly molt, and then they'll go on a migration, and then they'll get ready for breeding season. So all of the things that we do for our birds is to help take care of them. So I am a member of the husbandry department, and it is my lucky job to work with these birds 5 days a week. So I know them quite well, and they know me quite well. If you're interested in getting up close and personal with our penguins, we do offer penguin encounters 3 days a week, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's a group of 4 to 5. We go in front of the habitat where you guys are standing now, and we let one of our birds out. He's still a little mad at me. But there he goes with his mate with his mate whatever. And again, you're looking at Magellanic penguins. We have 23 of them here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, and they are finishing up their yearly molt. I also want to thank you guys for supporting us, because we are a nonprofit institution. Your paid admission is going right back to these animals to make sure they get the care that they need. So thank you guys so much, and enjoy the rest of your day here.